Right. I'm telling you guys what, we have got an amazing show for you guys this evening. We have our favorite creation scientist and probably the best well known creation scientist in the entire world. Dr. Hovind, how are you, sir?
Well, God is good, but some of God's kids drive me crazy, but God is good, brother.
Some of them get to me too, Doc. Uh, how have you been dealing with the atheists lately? You going to war still?
Oh, yeah. I really, I enjoy picking on them. I really do, brother. Anybody believes they came from a rock and are related to a banana, it's fun to make fun of them. It really is. I enjoy it.
Honestly, it truly is, Pastor. And you've been making waves lately. You're always known for making Kent Hovind type waves, but this is like a tsunami wave with Forbes magazine. How did you do it?
Well, for those that don't know the whole story, I've been a Baptist preacher 50 years, and the IRS came and raided our ministry in Pensacola back in '06. Brought a SWAT team in, arrested me, charged me with the dumbest charges you can imagine, had me convicted. The third jury convicted me, put me in prison for 10 years for nothing. I didn't break a single law. Oh, and then, so I'm just trying to get. Trump is in there now. He said, we're going to de-weaponize the Justice Department. Well, that's exactly what they did to me. They spent 5 years trying to find something on me to shut me up because of my DVD number 5, The Dangers of Evolution, in my series. You can get the whole series, $50, okay? So that you were very familiar with the thing, Stephen, what happened here. They put me in prison for 10 years. I want my case overturned. I want Trump to get some of his lawyers to look at what they did to me. The judge, the U.S. attorneys involved, the IRS agents involved, they should all be investigated and fired at least, possibly jailed. What they did was criminal to me. You know that, Stephen. Go ahead.
Well, you're right, Dr. Hovind. I know very well because I happen to have done the documentary Unmasking Kent Hovind. Actually, what persecuted you on the means of you being a believer. That's a hate crime.
Well, hello, it is I, Claude Bowles, and I just wanted to examine this most sycophantic, interview of Hovind by Stephen Bolin. It's very interesting that Bolin is an anagram for blowin, because it really does seem that he was bowling or blowing Kent Hovind, that's for sure. So I thought it was very good to see it on the program of AJ too, but unfortunately that Lupin idiot came on, and I think he was probably sent there by Hovind to wreck any chance of AJ finishing it out with it getting, sidetracked on red herrings. So I thought, well, I'll make a start. I do have limited time. I don't have long shows, but it'll go on as long as maybe after we might get partway through it. But I want you to hear it, and I want to rebut some of the points. Even the way it started was very weak, with the Kent's usual joke about some of God's kids causing problems, and Stephen gives that pathetic laugh and me too, all that sort of thing. And then he gets on, he wants to have his case overturned. Well, I can tell you now, Kent, that you can't have your case overturned. You've been through all that process. The most you can hope for is a pardon from Kent. Or no, from Trump, rather. I've tried confusing the two. I have far more regard for President Trump than I do for Kent Hovind. Now, the fact is that Kent tried for a pardon from Trump last time and got totally ignored, and it's my prediction that the same thing will happen. But just in case, I think we have to be prepared to make sure that President Trump and the Congress and the Senate know the truth. So I'm preparing a number of documents and videos to go to them. The other thing that he does underestimate is that Trump is a very good legal department and economic department as well. And that's where I have a contact in his economic advisors. It's not the same as legal, but both those he's very well served, and they're not fools. And Kent is a fool when it comes to the law. So all these things that Kent says you can take with an absolute grain of salt. Mostly untrue, but unfortunately stupid people, like, for example, Lupin and his followers, and the sycophants, they can't apply the most basic logic. And of course, I wasn't even allowed onto the show to the point where I could ask Kent any of the so-called difficult questions. I was allowed on later once he'd gone, because we can't hurt the feelings of Dr. Hovind, and we can't possibly have the public knowing the truth about this man. Let's listen to a bit more, and I might be able to comment on some of these things. We'll have to try and use our memories a bit, because it's going to be stop-start a bit, but I don't want to stop-start too much. Here we go again.
That's right.
Yep. So you have... Absolutely. And hopefully now that this has got to President Trump, we can get this reversed. And I'm hoping he's going to look at it. Have you heard anything from him yet?
I've not. No, we sent I did a short video February 1st on my channel. These are all my channels listed right here. Rumble. Peter Riley called me a couple days ago and said, I'm doing an article on you and your open letter to President Trump. Well, good. Peter Riley has not been a friend of me or the ministry for the whole time, but this one was pretty good. An article that he did in Forbes magazine. It came out, 2 days ago? People kept sending me links. In that article, he did pretty good. And to exonerate me, and he mentioned the Rumble, puts the link in there, right in his article. Go to Forbes magazine, type in Kent Hovind. In the last couple of days, that's me. So yeah, I think the whole Justice Department needs to be examined. The purpose of the Justice Department is to bring justice, not to be a weapon that you can beat up your opponents with.
Well, of course, have you ever heard anybody on death row say they were guilty? It's few and far between. Have you ever heard anybody in prison say they were guilty? Few and far between. There are some honourable ones. So Kent, of course, is going to say that he's totally innocent. The fact is that he isn't. And he was convicted duly by a group of his peers. He received a harsh sentence because, I don't know what the word in English you understand, I think it's prick. And he was such a prick that he got a harsh sentence. If he'd cooperated, my fault, I shouldn't have done that, and he did do it, then I doubt whether he would have been into jail for even a year. So that's just total. Kent is in cloud cuckoo land, and if you believe he is innocent, then you probably believe in leprechauns and pots of gold at the bottom of the rainbow. Anyway, we'll continue on a bit more.
That's what they do in communist countries. This is not a communist country yet. I really highly recommend people watch the video I did on February 2nd on Rumble or on Kent Hovind Official on Facebook. Or is that one up, Joseph, on the app, Kent Hovind TV? Is that Open Letter to Trump? Okay, they're all on there. Okay, go to drdino.com, the upper left-hand corner there. drdino.com, that's our website. On there you can see all the different channels we're on. But yes, I hope it makes a tidal wave and washes some of the filth out of Washington. And
I posted the link for the Forbes article in the chat, so hopefully everybody who loves and supports Doc Hovind will share that as much as you can. How else can people get involved? Can they write their congressman and ask the congressman to tap President Trump on the shoulder?
Please do. Congress and Senate, especially the conservative ones, talk show hosts. There's no statute of limitation on fraud. What they did to me was fraud.
It certainly wasn't fraud. If anybody committed fraud, it was you, Kent. And you to say that somehow the justice system or the judge was fraudulent or just total nonsense. Hi, Maud, and those in the chat. I probably can't. I feel a bit one-armed today, so I'm running around trying to do everything. So I probably can't type any comments, but I will acknowledge you at some stage in the proceedings. So okay, we'll continue on again. Hello, Big Bad Mama too. Anybody is welcome to come on, by the way. I've put the link up there. Continue on with the show, and let's see what else is said.
All the way. You know that. They broke 100 laws to put me in prison. I've got many videos on that topic.
Okay, I'll tell you what, we can start by naming one or two of those laws. In fact, give us the whole 100 laws that they broke, Kent. You've been challenged that over and over and over again. So, I don't think it's too big an ask. You've made the claim. Let's see what those 100 laws that they broke are. And as I said before, Trump is not a fool. You don't underestimate him, and don't underestimate his legal team. They're not idiots either. Whereas you're taking advice from people like your pedo mate Brady Byram. So, this is where your legal problems started. You never forked out for a proper lawyer. And as I say, if you'd had one and you'd been honest, I shouldn't have structured it, forgive me or whatever, all the things that you preach, if you'd done that, I don't think you'd be in the position that you're in today. Right, carrying on.
Let's see. The one you did and the Kent Hovind is Innocent series. It's here somewhere. I don't see it right now. But,
yeah, that was also a good series.
Yeah. I was getting ready for a sermon in my house in Pensacola, working on my laptop. My wife, 5 foot tall, still in bed, early in the morning. SWAT team comes in, arrests us, arrested her in her nightgown, took her to the courthouse in her nightgown, wouldn't let her get dressed, terrorized her, poor lady. We were virgins on our honeymoon, married for 42 years, and had a wonderful time.
This is where it gets almost laughably bizarre. So they were virgins on their honeymoon. What the has that got to do with anything? Really? What has it got to do with anything, his guilt or innocence? Terrorizing his wife? Well, you terrorized your wife, unfortunately, Kent, and that's why she left, because there are recordings of you talking to her on your prison phone, and she just realizes that you're not going to change. In fact, you say it's maybe she should change. She was a bit of an innocent pawn in your game, in your chess game, and unfortunately your chess game wasn't played as well as when you were the high school chess champion or whatever else you were, the wrestling champion, judo champion, the jiu-jitsu champion, the karate champion, and you dated more girls than everything else. No, she absolutely was destroyed by your actions, Kent, and she wasn't having a bar of it. And that's why she left the marriage. And she was a believer too, by the way. A true believer. Anyway, we'll hear a bit more. See where we go.
When I got out of prison, she divorced me. She's still scared of the IRS. What they did was traumatizing her, and I want to see them pay the damages. Probably, I'll tell them, start making zeros. I'll tell you when to quit on the check.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. What a plunky you are. I don't want to say the word wanker, but you really are. You've exhausted all those possibilities, Kent. And as you know, a pardon doesn't come with any financial compensation. In fact, it means you're guilty, but you're just pardoned. And you are guilty. No doubt about it.
Well, and a lot of people, they know the history of you being put in prison by the IRS, but what a lot of them fail to realize is that Joe spent a year in jail also, and that was a way of trying to intimidate you into not fighting the case.
Right.
And unfortunately...
Well, where did that come from? Stephen just made that up, plucked it out of his ass or wherever else, and Hovind, of course, agrees because it's Stephen sucking up to him, this great, wonderful role model for kids everywhere, for parents everywhere, Stephen Bolin. As I say, it's an anagram of Blowen, and it's very appropriate. The answer, my friend, in this case, though, is not Bolin in the wind. That's for sure. Right. He gets very annoyed about that.
It happened.
But when I tried to fight the case, they did everything they could to make it worse for me. They moved me 32 times while I was in prison. I've seen just about every prison in America. Been all over there, New Hampshire, where it's chilly, Colorado, all over the place. I wrote a book about the prison system, which I highly recommend people get and read. Not because it's just me, but I did a lot of research. It's called The Kennel. I was writing it from prison. I used the false name Elijah Green because Elijah was the prophet that the king hated for no reason. And we wore green in that prison, our green uniform. So Elijah Green, but it's me, Kent Hovind. Congressmen and senators and judges and attorneys are allowed to own stock in the prison system. The longer they lock you up, the more money they make on their secondary investment. That ought to be criminal. they should go to jail for that.
Well,
To give longer sentences. It's stupid. Stop it, Trump. Fix it.
welcome,
Fix it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
welcome, Dr. Hovind. Yeah, no, and before it's always like conspiracies, you know, oh, you're just a bunch of kooks, not you, but everybody. And now, thank God, I don't particularly like Donald Trump's attitude, behavior, whatever that is. Besides that, what he has done for exposing the corruption that we have in our government is just overwhelming. I had a friend that she had a guy, a son-in-law living in her house or whatever he was, and really thug. He and then at that time, whoever it was with all the automatic weapons and the gear came in, he wasn't even around. They do, even in that, which he should have come down, all they did was terrorize a bunch of people that had nothing to do with him. And so that is where, and Stephen was just alluding to that, and we've seen through the last 4 years where the government has used that kind of scare tactic that they used on you. And I don't care who it is, that's not right. You know,
Well, I don't know if anybody can translate that, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a load of meaningless drivel from Dan. Absolute meaningless drivel. We'll see how Kent responds to that nonsense. He'll probably like it because it's sort of, once again, you know, ingratiating, sliming his way right up Kent. But he did make one mistake there, Dan, saying that he didn't like Trump. And I don't think that's going to help Kent's cause. Trump, of course, has already been made aware of this.
They do in communist countries. They said the communist countries, they terrorize the people into submission. Oh, I got it over here.
Well, and just to clear up for people, a lot of people are also under the misconception that Kent Hovind got locked up for tax fraud. Nothing could be further from the truth. They got you with tax structuring, which when you explain it, every single citizen in the United States with a bank account has committed tax structuring. It's when you take out multiple withdrawals from your bank account that are all under $10,000. That's structuring.
No, it's not, Stephen. And you've had this explained to you before. First of all, there has to be some sort of an intent involved. The reason why you structure. And the reason why you structure is if you're dealing in cash and you don't want to attract the attention of the IRS. And yes, originally it was drug dealers that structured. And it was a way, it's called, you guess you could call it laundering. But then other crooks used it as well, including those of a religious persuasion, religious crooks, Kent, those that didn't want to pay or be accountable for the money of which they were spending. They dealt in cash, and then they thought, well, if it's $10,000 or more is withdrawn, it has to be reported. So we'll just do it in multiples of just a bit under $10,000. And he did it about 40 times. I think most of the times he might have sent his wife to do it. That's why she ended up in jail. What a cowardly man Kent was, sacrificing his wife when he could have admitted guilt himself. But no, he is such a coward. He sacrificed his wife, Jo, and she went to jail too, albeit for a year. Kent wouldn't have probably even got a year had he been cooperative. So that is an absolute lie, Stephen. You know nothing about it, and it's typical of someone of your nature who's been homeschooled, and what's worse, homeschooled on Kent Hovind. You would not have a clue. You've got the definition of structuring totally wrong. Let's hear some more.
Everyone listening to this program tonight has broke that law, and the IRS could come and arrest you and your wife tonight too. So it's important President Trump looks at this, Doc.
Well, people don't understand. The structuring law was never promulgated. It's not really law. It doesn't meet the Paperwork Reduction Act. There is no law requiring the bank to fill out any forms at all.
Well, this is absolute bullshit. He wouldn't have been able to be convicted if that was the case. So cut that crap here. We'll have to listen to it because I don't know where to skip to, but just absolute nonsense. Anybody who believes this just has to have come down in a rain shower last week.
Most of them do. The basic idea was they said they're trying to catch drug dealers. So the Congress passed a law that said if you take out more than 10,000 or deposit more than 10,000, any transaction over 10 in one day, is the bank has to fill out a form. I don't care what form they fill out. They fill out a form on $1 if they want. But then the drug dealers, to get around, so they didn't want any forms filled out on them, the drug dealers would go in the morning and take out $9,500 and go in the afternoon and take out $9,500. So Congress passed another law that said if you take out more than 10,000 in one day, but you break it up into smaller transactions, you have structured your transactions to evade the reporting requirement. Keep in mind, the law was never properly passed. There is no law like that, okay? But the banks think that there is, and the IRS is using it up to the hilt, even though there is no law. It's phony. But be that as it may, we never did that. We would take out $9,500. My wife would take out $9,500. 2 weeks later, take out $9,500 because we had like 40 college students working for us in all their off hours, and we paid them cash. Most of them were from out of state, and they paid their own taxes. There was never a law broken about taxes or about structuring.
Well, yes, there was, Kent. You broke the structuring law. Funny how you know so much about structuring. In fact, you virtually described what you did, and that was to take it on multiple occasions. In fact, 40, but you don't mention that here because it doesn't suit your story. But you did it about 40 times and in a short space of time. And you also paid your employees, and they weren't missionaries, Kent. And one of the things you're also not going to mention is that you had a time clock for them to punch in and out of. And you are required to take withholding tax from them and then take that withholding tax and pay it to the Inland Revenue Service, or whatever you call it, IRS. Yes, IRS. So you're required to do that. You didn't do it. You know, you want to be a citizen, you want to have all the benefits of citizenship, but you're not prepared to do your bit, apart from preaching about things that are a direct benefit to you. Imagine the millions of dollars you got out of your dinosaur Adventureland business, the first one. I wonder what you're getting now. I mean, you've got all these people working for very little or nothing, and you begrudge paying the electricity for a shower. Oh, well, we'll keep going. Can't go on for...
It was never 2 in one day. It was 1 every 2 weeks. So even though the law wasn't passed and isn't the law, we still didn't break it.
Yeah, I agree. And in my...
See him scratches, just to the neck, the indication of it's lying. Some people say he lies every time he opens his mouth. It's not quite like that, but he's got some absolute body language giveaways. Let's hear Stephen chime in, once again. I think Stephen thinks he's going to take over DAL. He probably would be the best person to do so if you want another fool running the place.
My opinion, the real reason they locked you up in the first place was DVD number 5.
Right.
I didn't used to believe that as much as I do now that I've looked into it and made the documentary, but it would be hard for anyone to convince me at this point that that's not why they locked you up. You were...
Why would you want to even try and convince this fool of a man anything? And as for his documentary, it was just one Hovind grease up after the other. If he could have licked harder and faster, he would have done so. I mean, it's a joke to call that a documentary. And it can be ripped apart just as I am ripping apart Kent's case now. And this is the sort of thing that President Trump's advisors, because don't kid yourself, he's not going to look at this himself. His advisors need to look at and see, and they will. And they will. Right, let's keep going. And I apologize to people in the chat that I can't type response. I do appreciate you being there, and but I just can't do all these things at once. Right, here we keeping on going and seeing what we come with next.
We're doing real damage to evolution.
I hope I still do. I'm going to do it till I die, and after I die, my videos are going to keep going. Please do it.
Well, you've definitely got attention now. You've got Forbes magazine writing about you at a time where President Trump is sensitive to this kind of thing. The atheists are helping by spreading this and getting reporters to report on it. How else can we get the atheists involved to help your case?
They play lots of my videos on their channel. It's hilarious. They're spreading the gospel and don't even know it. Many people learn about me and our ministry here, which I'm not important, but the ministry is. They've learned about us because of the atheist channel. Say, wow, who is this guy? Let's check him out. I love him.
That's absolute nonsense. The channels that Ken finds themselves the butt of a joke on, there's no way that people then go and say, oh my God, that looks good. I want some of that. I want to be like Kent Hovind. I really want to be someone like Stephen Bolin or Dan Pugsy or these other people. Of course they don't. And I've been contacted by people thanking me and very grateful for the fact that you've got channels like AJ's and Big Bad Mama and Kurisu and goodness, I've started a Nerdy Truckabilly, and I don't want to leave people out because there are many, and they're holding Kent to account, and it doesn't take many people to look at it to think, is that right? Because I'm not going to tell any lies on this. That's the difference between me and Kent. I'm not going to tell anything that's unsubstantiated. I'm going to correct his lies here. And it is so obvious. And so many of the videos that go up have got him saying one thing on one, split, and then you put him saying the next thing, contradicting himself or being caught in a lie. And then he starts to stutter and stammer. But unfortunately, there's still stupid people who send him money. Well, that money has got to dry up, and that's my aim. And of course, we know he's not doing so well financially at the moment. And of course, he just lost 60, according to Joseph, his tech guy. And, he's very lucky Joseph hasn't taken any money, but some of his previous tech guys have. And Joseph has said that Sandra took off with $16,000. So, you want to donate to Dinosaur Adventureland, and I just wonder where your donations are going to end up. Sandra, previous tech guys, future people? No idea. Or Kent, is he going to purloin them and do something wasteful with them? At the moment, Jeeps are his sort of object of lust that he wants. He buys them, but a year or two ago it was side-by-sides. The man just can't help himself. He's driven by materialism, material possessions, and that's it. It's absolutely proven. Let's carry on more.
Love it. So, yeah, I think getting my case overturned and getting them to pay the damages is very minor in the big picture of things. I want God to get the glory. And many people will not listen to me and will not listen to my seminar and will not watch my videos because they think I'm some kind of evil lawbreaker.
Well, they're right, Kent, So here we go. 1 minute everybody's listening to him, and it doesn't matter what us atheists do. We're terrible, and now he's admitting that people think that he's a lawbreaker and don't go. I think you can't have it both ways, can you, Kent? This is another one of your distractions and your non sequiturs. You're just unbelievable. But here we go. We'll let you continue on.
Of course, our country was started by tax protesters. Keep that in mind. Throw the tea in the harbor, And we need that to happen again.
But elsewhere, Kent says he's not a tax protester. I mean, I've got it on record. I am not a tax protester. But on the other hand, he's now saying, the country was started by tax protesters. So which is it, Kent? Now, I've got clips up of you saying you're not a tax protester, but then also boasting you hadn't filed a return to the IRS in 28 years. Also, how do you think Mr. Trump is going to run this country based on a bunch of tax protesters? He would know. It's of no interest, your personal tax crimes. Ken, you just need to pay the price. In fact, you should actually be paying the money that you took back. I think you've got away a bit lightly with your prison term. What about the back taxes that you should be paying? Is the IRS going to look into that? Who knows? Maybe they will now that you've drawn attention to yourself in such an obvious way. But that's just absolutely ridiculous. Thinking that you can part of a country and not pull your weight. You don't even pay property taxes, but you want Kanaka County to pave the road near Dinosaur Adventureland, which incidentally is paid for with property taxes. Now, what's the word for a person like you? I think it begins with H. Hypocrite.
But see, the IRS is a private company. It's not part of the United States government. Okay? And they think they're lawless. They think they're above the law. I think everybody should obey the law, including the government. Praise God for Trump. He's going after them. And I hope he goes after all of them that broke the laws in my case. But in my video series, I cover part 1, the age of the earth, how to prove the earth is not billions of years old. Part 2 is about the Garden of Eden. Why did they live to be 900 years old? The Bible says they lived to be over 900. Part 3 is all about dinosaurs. They've always lived with man. They did not live millions of years ago. Part 4 is lies in the textbooks. They hate that one too. There's 30.
I think this will lose President Trump because, you know, for all the criticism he will get, there will be some on here that like him, some that don't like him. He is scientifically minded. He knows that that evolution is true. I know that from him, and I've heard that. I've got contacts up there can tell me that. And he certainly doesn't think that the Flintstones is a documentary, Kent. He knows that the Flintstones is a cartoon.
See some lies that are used to push the evolution theory. There's no evidence for it at all. Part 5, the dangers of evolution. I trace through the history of this theory. There are some people, some morons, who would like to have a one world government, a new world order. And the creation story is a hindrance to that. See, the guys who started this country said, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. They're endowed by their creator with certain rights. Where do rights come from? They come from the creator. Well, they don't like that idea. The morons who want a one-world government under communism, they say rights come from government. We give you the permission to drive on the highway. We give you the permission to get married. You have to get a license, which comes from the word licentious. In other words, if you don't do it, you're licentious. You have to get a permit to breathe, permit to eat, permit to buy, sell. That's what they're striving for. Revelation talks about that. I did a whole series and wrote a book while I was in prison for a doctoral dissertation on what on earth is about to happen.
I call that the woeful series because it's absolutely woeful. I mean, what Kent has just been talking for the last few minutes is utter drivel. And anybody with even a small amount of grey matter could see that. Or maybe not a homeschoolie.
End time. What's coming according to the Bible? You get that on our website, drdino.com, and see all our stuff there. But we sent the letter to all these folks, and what people can do, brother, anybody, if you have a congressman or senator from your state, who is usually Republicans are the most conservative, concerned about this. The Democrats are concerned about, more social welfare. It's a communist mentality. Socialism slash, the only difference between socialism and communism is socialism with a gun. We're going to force it on you with a gun, that's all. Otherwise, it's the same basic philosophy. The idea that you work hard and they take it away and divide it up how they want. That's communism. That's evil. If you work hard, you should get rewarded. Somebody else doesn't want to work. The Bible says if you don't work, you don't eat. That would get people motivated. Anyway, that's another story. So in my video 5, I talk about the dangers of evolution. This theory is not only stupid, there's no evidence for it, it's dangerous. We teach the kids they're just an animal. And we wonder, why are they acting like animals? Look what you're teaching them.
It's not even worth refuting that sort of nonsense. It's once again, there's just no connection between the two at whatsoever. Kent is just displaying his ignorance. He's about to tell us how he taught high school science. This is all bollocks too.
High school 15 years, I've seen some pretty sad things. We're teaching them.
Yes, one of the saddest things was seeing Kent teach high school science. I'd have thought he has no high school science qualifications whatsoever in math or science. Even his worthless fake diploma mill degree is in something called Christian education. Nothing to do with science, nothing to do with math. And of course it's worthless. But well, let's say, well, so what else would he? Well, to teach in a high school, you need a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, but very few would have a doctorate in the relevant discipline from a place that's accredited. And you know why they're accredited? To stop people like Patriot Bible University setting up with a printing press and a mail bag and issuing worthless degrees who people pay, a couple of $1,000s for. So Dr. Windbag Hovind, that's the type of degree he has. It's a fact.
An animal. I ask atheists all the time, how do you tell right from wrong? Where's your standard for right and wrong? They can never answer. We've got a standard. Thus saith the Lord. I can tell you how you tell right from wrong. God created us, he owns us, and he decides what's right and wrong.
I don't think it's right to, Kent probably believes in slavery because, of course, the Bible allows it, provided you don't kill your slave or, with so many beatings or whatever. I don't believe it's moral to own anybody. Sorry about that, Kent. That's a major difference between you and I. I don't believe it's moral for anything or anyone to own anybody else. You do. Oh, well, my morals come from society, and I think it's a better source than your God, who might have had one or two things that were pretty obvious. Thou shalt not kill. Yes, I agree. Except when it suits, Kent would also say, as far as that goes, because he wants to kill certain members of his society, and he's said so on numerous occasions. Numerous occasions he has said so. So I believe that you shouldn't kill, and I believe that you shouldn't steal, and all those things, and I would believe that either I'd ever read the Bible or not, because I'm a normal human being.
Simple, okay? They don't like that. So anyway, we're going off track here. But yeah, what people can do is keep spreading the video, tell everybody you know, watch this. Just let them, send that link to the Forbes article. If you go on, Joseph, I sent that to you. Can you post that somehow? Okay, yeah. Because in that Forbes article, he posts the link for Rumble. You can click on his Rumble link and go straight to the show that I did February 1st on our channels. It's called, hang on, the wrong one. Open letter to President Trump. That's not the one I wanted, but I wanted this one. You're a tax protester. No, I'm not. There's nothing wrong with being a tax protester, but I got other things to fight. There's too many dragons to slay. I'm working on the evolution dragon.
Amen. Yeah. Okay, so we've got the article in motion. Now they have shut you down off of YouTube again. You are not planning on returning to YouTube, correct?
He's not planning on YouTube. He's not allowed to return to YouTube. He's finally got that through his skull. Incidentally, his Rumble channel, he went on big talk, a lot of talk about freedom of speech. And now when I, the Claude, try and ask and comment on it or call him out on anything, I find I've been muted, so I can't comment. I have seen someone set up, and I've put the name in the chat, a site called Kent Hovind Official. It's a bit of a different spelling to what you'd normally say official. And I've seen a few videos on there which you can go and comment on. It seems to practice freedom of speech. I put a comment on one or two of them and I'm not being banned. So I think it's one that's actually highlighting Kent's hypocrisy. So try that one. And if you do go on the Kent Hovind Rumble channel, make sure you take the chance to register and make comments and downvote if you don't like any of the things that are said. Of course, if you love it, you should upvote it and say good things. But I just encourage free speech. So please do that. Please do that. Get onto Rumble. Give him some of his own medicine.
No.
Okay, so what are your biggest platforms? Where can people find you?
Well, many people are playing my videos on their YouTube channel. So go to YouTube and just type in Kent Hovind. It'll come up. So I'm thrilled that Trump is trying to de-weaponize the Justice Department, make them stop using. Is that the one I want? There you go. They can get all my stuff. DrDino.com is our main site. They're all listed right there. They watch the TV. What is it, $1 a year to get? You have to pay something to have an app for TV or something. So $1 a year, you can get. I know. Apple TV, Apple Play Store. I don't know what any of that is. I'm techno behind, brother. Post a link. Let somebody click the button. Okay.
All
So
right.
please spread it around. And it's not so much to get me exonerated, though I would like that, and have them pay the damages. Boy, I'd like that. We could do it. But it's to get the gospel out. I want everybody to know, wow, the Bible is true.
Well, how on earth would that say or show that the Bible is true? I'm much more impressed or likely to be convinced that the Bible is true or something that I should follow or a way of life by the many, many decent Christian people that are out there. Many, many decent Christian people. And sometimes I go on their shows and we totally disagree, but they're good people and I can have a discussion with them, but not with you, Kent. You're an awful person, and I think most people can see it. I particularly liked your video that you got Grantham, one of your staff, who's now left, to go on and say that his opinion, as just a normal person, you weren't a narcissist, and just about everything that he talked about, you could tick a box next to Kent Hovind's name. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
I stopped a guy today, came over to give us a price on cutting the tree down. And I said, hey, the Bible says the earth is, that God made everything in 6 days, right? He said, yeah. I said, when did dinosaurs live? You get that strange look on their face, like, oh, come on now. If he made everything in 6 days, like he said in the 10 Commandments, then the dinosaurs had to live with Adam and Eve. Whoa. That's why we started Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. Come on down, just north of Pensacola, 70 miles. It's free. You've been here, Stephen. You know the place. It's amazing.
It's paradise on earth. There's not a place, I think, where you'll find yourself getting closer to God. I do have a question for you, Doc. This comes in from one of your platforms. Hey, Ken, do you have a book or anything on why the Bible, why the Christian God is the correct God?
I covered that a little bit on seminar part 7, which is 5 hours long, questions and answers. And what about other religions? And I cover why I did a whole series, about a year ago, Joseph, why I'm not a Muslim, why I'm not it's on the app too, okay? Why I'm not, I've covered quite a few of the other religions. I can't be one of these because here's what they believe compared to what I think the obvious truth is. So the Bible is very simple. The Bible claims to be.
Well, you just happen to live in a country that by and large produces more Christian people and has some sort of history of some sort of Christianity. If you'd been born in India and you thought the same way as you do with regard to religion, you'd have been probably a Hindu. And if you'd been born in an Arab country, you'd probably be a pretty good Muslim, Kent. You'd say, oh, no, well, look, it's written in their scriptures. It must be true. This should be obvious to any person with even a modicum of intelligence, which Kent and his followers obviously don't have.
Perfect. Quite a claim for a book. This book says it's perfect. Psalms 12, 6, and 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. This book claims to be from God. It claims to be inspired. The word spire, where we get respiration, perspiration, it means to breathe, okay? It claims to be inspired. It claims to be God's breathed book through 40 different men. Who could write a book through?
Well, if it claims to be, according to Kent, it must be. It's a bit like saying, if you claim you're innocent, you must be. Oh, God, I didn't realize how bad this whole thing was. Anyway, suitable for Proverbs, guys.
Through 40 different authors, and most of them never saw each other, and still have it harmoniously seamed together. So if a book makes a claim like that, either it is or it isn't. Okay? I've been studying it 56 years now, brother. This book is God's word, from cover to cover. God inspired his word. He preserved his word. And that's a copy of it right there. So, yeah, the other religions, I think you can find lots of serious flaws in them, logical flaws, internal contradictions in their own books. Many of them inspired by one man who claimed he had a vision, like Mormonism or Islam. One guy had a vision. They say with Muhammad, how do you know he was a prophet? He had a hole on his back. That's how he knew he was a prophet. He had a hole on his back. Holy moly. So anyway, I just can't believe that.
Yeah, and that's not getting into the rates that have increased since we've started teaching evolution in public schools. Unmarried spouses having children, that's on the rise. Depression, suicide rates, violent gang activity.
Unmarried couples having children. Mr. Boland, how many children have you had to how many different baby mamas? And how many times were you married to them, if at all? Okay, so that's a good question for you to come back with. How many children do you have divided by the number of women that you had them with? And in each case, were you married, legally married, to that woman at the time? I'd be very interested to hear, because I know you haven't paid your what do you call it, child support. I know you've got huge arrears. Huge arrears, that's back paid, you're not rear. You might have a huge arrear as far as I know, I don't know. But anyway, you've got huge arrears in your payments in child support. You haven't done your bit, and you dare to criticize some often loving couples who are not married, but they've had a child who they actually take care of. Yeah, it's disgraceful. Let's see if Kent fights back against that.
It's all on the rise since they started teaching children that they have no future, they have no value, and they come from animals. You're right, Doctor.
What a load of bollocks. Which schools teach people that they have no future and they're not worth? In fact, it's Christian schools that teach them, oh, you're not worthy. Oh, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. You are worthless sinners. You're going to the pits of hell. That's what your Hovind school would teach. I think you've got confused, Mr. Berlin.
On my video number 1, I go through all the charts of what happened since the early 60s, 1960s, when evolution became the popular theme in all of our, I got a huge collection around me here of science textbooks. I love science. I got biology, earth science, physics. The evolution theory became, the number of words in the average book exploded after the early 60s.
Yeah, well, you know, people got a bit more scientifically intelligent and literate, and they also used words more precisely, or wanted to, you know, so that they got things right. Not, you know, you're not your 4th grade level of understanding that you're so proud of, Kent. How many times have I heard that? I teach at a 4th grade level.
And I cover why on video number 1. But that's when we began to see a great rise in premarital sex, teen suicide, all kinds of things. It's a direct correlation. We're teaching the kids they're an animal, and we wonder what's happening. Duh. I ask atheists all the time, how do you tell right from wrong? They don't know. I say, would it be wrong for you to go next door and kill your neighbor's baby and eat it?
Well, yeah, what a stupid thing to say. I mean, of course it's wrong. And you know why? Because it's not only your conscience or whatever tells you that. We have a thing, nobody can really explain that, but it's not God. It's perhaps the more you think, the more you can discern what is right and wrong. But it's also against the law. You know, the law, not in the Bible, but the law promulgated by the governments that you can't actually stand, Kent. So, in fact, if push came down to shove, what did your God get up to when he drowned all those people in the time of the flood? Were some of them pregnant women? Were some of them babies? You know, imagine them gasping for their last breath as you would say, drown dead. God, it's unbelievable, Kent. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, the lion does it to the zebra all the time. Go next door, kill the baby zebra, and eat it. I tell you what, if you really want to be consistent, you atheists, I will pay for the sign for you to go over to Africa and hold it up in front of the lions. Stop eating zebra babies. I'll pay for that sign for you to go do that.
Well, why would a lion want to stop, or God, who created lions to eat other animals, why would you stop that? Why would you stop that cycle of nature, Kent? Why would you do it? What a stupid thing to do. I mean, and as for you paying, you did have a group telling you they were going over to Africa to search for Mokele and Bembe in the Congo or whatever. You said you were going to give them money. Well, I did happen to monitor their donations channel, and you didn't give the $100 that you said you were going to. So you're just absolutely full of it. Incidentally, that surprise, they came back without having found Mokele and Bembe.
That'd be fun to see, wouldn't it, Joseph?
Oh, no, we couldn't have that. All right, so the best places to find you, we have you on Vimeo, Twitch, Daily Motion, you're on Facebook, Kent Hovind Official, your Rumble channel's really successful in taking off, you're on TikTok, and we have you on Brighton. But by far, the most important, in my opinion, is the Kent Hovind TV. And the reason is all those other platforms can censor you, and they can take Kent Hovind off the air, just like YouTube has done multiple times. But the Kent Hovind app is ran by you. They cannot take that off.
Yes, the real reason, Bolan, you've been put up to this by Kent, is that he gets money from it. You have to pay. by donations only. Yeah, that's why you want them to do that.
There. So I strongly encourage all of you guys to go to your televisions, go to your app store, find KentHovind.tv. You won't regret it. And for $1 a year, you can't afford not to. Now, Doc,
well, for those that maybe doesn't matter, the name Hovind is a Norwegian name. I didn't take it, Grandpa did, okay?
$1 a year, that's been questioned by several people as well. So it'd be interesting to know for someone who's an expert in that field, and I'm not, so I won't make claims without knowing it. Can you really get it for $1 a year? I mean, I wouldn't get it if you paid me. But, you know, if somebody was interested, is it $1 a year or is that another lie? It would just be interesting to know.
Came over from Norway, changed his name from, I forget what it was before he changed it to Hovind, because that was the village he came from. So Hovind, Hovind. I always have to spell it out for people. It's a Norwegian name. I've never been to Norway. I don't speak well. The Norwegian, a little bit oofed up.
Well, spelling in English has never been a strong point either. And if you go on to WikiLeaks and you search for Kent Hovind's dissertation, you will see the most pathetic, error-ridden, grammatically incorrect dissertation you'll ever find, which shows that he actually paid to get his PhD, worthless as it is. So, you know, do that. I put a link in that. Someone else mentioned it on one of my other videos. But yeah, you can find it. Just search Kent Hovind dissertation. You'll come to it on WikiLeaks. You can download it and you can read it with all its glorious errors and total shite.
So, Kent Hovind TV, we want to help. I tell people, if you watch my videos, three things I'm trying to accomplish. Number one, I want to strengthen your faith in the Word of God. Number two, if you're not saved, I want to get you saved. Number three, if you're saved and you're not doing much for the Lord, I want to make you uncomfortable.
Well, I think he's failed on all three so far.
If you'll watch his videos, not because it's me, it's because it's the truth of God's Word. But when you're done watching, you're going to say, wow, the Bible is the Word of God. And then about a week later, you're going to sit up in bed in the middle of the night and say, oh, no. The Bible is the Word of God.
And if you're a delusional, but anyway.
This changes everything. Yeah, it does. Watch it. Make all the copies you want. Spread them out here. Don't sell it. It's my intellectual property, but I give you permission to copy it and give it away many times as you want. Okay? Go ahead, brother.
And you stand on that guarantee. And I'll tell you what, the content that you produce and put out is only half of the ministry. The other half of the ministry is Dinosaur Adventureland. That's located in Lenox, Alabama, directly north of Pensacola. Tell us about your ministry. Tell us about Dinosaur Adventureland and give us some updates of what's happening down there.
Well, when I was a brand new Christian, February 9th, 1969, 56 years ago when I got saved, right away I'm faced with the problem of the dinosaurs. By the way, what do you think, Stephen, my dinosaur microphone holder? Is that pretty cool or what?
I've noticed it on a few of your streams, and I love that.
I was brand new Christian, majoring in math and science. My dad's an engineer. My oldest brother became an engineer. My mom was a public school teacher. My second brother became a public school teacher.
Lest Kent exaggerates, Kent's dad worked on the assembly line at Caterpillar Tractors. That's what he used to say, but now he's become an engineer. One of his brothers was a teacher. But so what? So what? And I think his mother was a kindergarten teacher. But so what? Kent is always trying to ride on others' coattails, false valor. That's why he bought it. So insecure, he had to go and buy a degree because he's too thick to actually earn it the proper way.
We love learning. We love teaching stuff like that. I'm reading my Bible, and I'm taking all the math and science classes I can in high school. Ended up majoring in math and science, and ended up teaching at 15 years, high school.
Now, majoring in math and science at high school. Do you major in a subject at high school? Because he certainly didn't major at university because he didn't go to university. The only one he went to is where he bought his worthless degree in Christian education. So this is a real major point. Anybody who thinks that Kent Hovind in some way taught real science and real math has to be off their rocker. I challenged Kent to sit a physics paper under test conditions at master's level. Okay, I challenge him to do that, and also a maths paper under test conditions at master's level. he wouldn't stand a chance, because it's not about memorizing name, cosine, tangent, all this sort of shit that he regularly throws out to show how clever he is. It's not. It's about doing complicated problems and actually trying to do things that actually might help your fellow citizens in the earth and the field of scientific discovery. He's not interested in that. He's interested in memorizing body parts, and most of those he focuses on are around a male animal's pelvic area. It's just bizarre.
I'm reading my Bible and it says, wait a minute. The Bible says Adam is 130 when his son is born. Yeah. And then he lived 800 years after that. How do you live to be 900? That became a question for me as a new Christian. But being a loving math and science, I made a graph of all the dates that are given right there in the Bible. Adam is 130 when his son is born, and that boy is 105 when his son is born. The numbers read Genesis 5. They're all right there. Then you go after the flood. Here's the flood right here. And you get more dates in Genesis chapter 11. And so you can add them up. It comes to the earth being created about 4000 BC, before Christ, so 6,000 years ago. That's what it says. But I'm being taught the earth is billions of years old in school. And I said, wait a minute. If the earth is 6,000 years old, where do dinosaurs fit into the picture? It was a real puzzle for me for years as a young Christian. I struggled with that. And it's so simple. Before the flood came, the people lived to be 900. Reptiles.
Utter rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And then he'll come up with this silly canopy. He calls it a theory. It's not that, but the ice canopy. And therefore, pressures were higher and people live. No, people have never lived to 900 years. You know that, Kent. But unfortunately, if you do believe that, that sort of, because you're a Bible literalist, it's 100% true. You can't stand the idea that your precious Bible might not be literally accurate.
Never stop growing. What would happen to a lizard if he could live to be 900? Dinosaurs were big lizards with Adam and Eve. And then Noah took them on the ark. Dinosaurs on the ark. They're kind of big, aren't they? Well, the big ones were big, but the little ones were little. And Noah was 600 years old. I bet he was smart enough to figure out, I don't have to bring the biggest ones. Bring two babies. Be sure to get a pink one and a blue one. And after the flood, people killed most of them. They called them dragons. Or they died off in the new climate. They couldn't survive because lifespan dropped off to 400 and then 200. Something happened. I cover all that in video number 2. So anyway, dinosaurs were a great puzzle to me as a young Christian. Where do they fit in? And its answer is so simple. So that's why I want to really emphasize that, because Satan is using God's creatures to turn boys and girls away from God. I'm sick of God.
Satan. Oh,
I may not win the war, but they're going to know I was out there fighting. I'm going to convert as many as I can.
Well, speaking of Noah's Ark, I happen to have heard a rumor that they're building one somewhere down there in Alabama. What's that about, Doc?
Well, we are building a 1/3 scale model of Noah's Ark. 1/3 the length, 1/3 the width, 1/3 the height. We sold our old excavator and our gravel shaker. We had about $22,000. Hey, I always wanted to build a model of Noah's Ark, to have tours in there and teach about the flood of Noah. It says in 2 Peter chapter 3, at the end of time, the scoffers who hate the Bible will be willingly ignorant of the creation and the flood and the coming judgment of God. 2 Peter 3:3. Well, we've talked a lot about the creation. What was it like? Why did they live to be 900? About the canopy overhead, the crystal canopy. I cover all that in my video. I'm a strong believer in the canopy theory. But I haven't been able to do what I want with the flood. So we're going to have this ark full of pictures of, I've been working on it since 4 this morning, on all the slides and stuff I want to make and pictures to put up in there about teaching about the flood. Where did the water come from? Where did it go? What did it do? Why did the ark, what kept the ark from, flipping over? Stuff like that.
Well, we've heard your theories on that. We've heard your ridiculous theory that the fountains of the deep broke open and shot rocks up from the earth, which are reasons why there are craters on the moon, because they were hit by the rocks. It's just ludicrous. Don't you dare call it a theory either. It's not a theory. It's not even a hypothesis. It's something they've plucked out of you and your other creation. It's a mate's ass.
So anyway, we're building, yes, it's about 80 feet of it is done. About, how tall is it? Did you guess? Yeah. 28 or 30 feet, I think. It's 1/3 the height. So since it's 1/3 the width and 1/3 the length and 1/3 the height, the real one was 27 times bigger. But this one's pretty big. Big enough to be impressive, I think. Come on down, brother. You won't believe it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, come and look what I've built, Lord. God, look at me. Look at what I've done. I haven't helped the poor. No, I haven't helped those in need. No, they can forget whatever. If you don't work, you don't eat. You haven't done any of that. You've collected things. First of all, you've collected side-by-sides. Then they weren't good enough, and now you're collecting Jeeps, and some of them aren't good enough, and you need more enclosed ones or ones with a heater so you can do it in winter and not get cold. And then, of course, everybody needs to live in huts, but you've got a sort of quite a nice house, and you have a hot tub in there too because you're special. And it's all, look at me, look at what I've built. Why would you do that? Why? What the hell do you think you're doing? What difference is going to have an ark to winning souls for the Lord, or actually practicing what Jesus would have done? I don't know.
3 floors. We were going to make another one, but that's another story. So we kept it at 3 floors, like the Bible says.
Hey, I have another quick question for you, Doc, and then we can get back into Dinosaur Adventureland. This is from another one of your supporters, from Travis. And he said, "You helped convert me. Thank you for that."
Well, amen. Hey, spread it around. Tell somebody else. That's all I ask. Spread it around.
Amen. All right. So besides Noah's Ark, and that's 80% completed, you say?
80 feet of it is probably 80% completed. When we're done, it'll be 172 feet long. But we just went till we ran out of money, and stop. We don't go in debt. Stop right there.
Now, after the Noah's Ark is complete and President Trump exonerates you and the IRS is forced to give all your money back, are you still planning on building that world's biggest dinosaur?
Absolutely. I have had dreams for years of building this guy right here, a Brachiosaurus, to be as the world's biggest dinosaur out of concrete and steel. There's one in Canada right now that's 83 feet tall, and it's the world's tallest dinosaur. You climb up inside, look out over the mouth. Look out the mouth over Drumheller, Alberta, Canada. It's in a town of 3,000 people, and they have 375,000 visitors a year. I'm in a town of 30 people, Lenox, Alabama. Man, if we had 100,000 visitors a year, brother, they'd have to widen Pearl Lane, wouldn't they? Yeah.
Well, you might have to pay towards that happening, Kent. I mean, you talk about all this rubbish about bringing money in, but you spend most of your money in the neighbouring county. You're just absolutely full of it, Kent. You don't pay property taxes. You get away under this ministry ruse. You're just a bunch of collected buildings and things that you're building to glorify yourself, and you chuck God's name in there. I don't think Jesus would have done that. I think he'd have taken care of the poor. But it's up to you to do with the money that you take from people, or the money that gets to you before it isn't either stolen or some way deflected by your previous tech guys, or indeed your fourth wife, if what your tech guy Joseph says is to be believed. Incidentally, you haven't actually addressed that. I look forward to you addressing that matter soon.
You would get it paved after all, huh?
Yeah, I would. So anyway, we just want to give God the glory. My plans I drew up while I was in prison. My dad and brother are engineers. I'm not an engineer, but I love that kind of stuff. I designed this dinosaur scaled up to be 110 feet tall. Scaled up the whole thing. The belly would become a bookstore. The tail would be a water slide down into the lake. The skin all around is rock climbing. And under the jaw, you can rappel down 100 feet with rappelling ropes.
And Kent would be talking and preaching his stuff out the dinosaur's ass. That would be highly appropriate.
So that's the current thinking on that. I sent all my plans to an engineer friend of mine in Pensacola. He looked it all over. He said, "Bro, Hovind, you're insane. This will work." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "How much?" We talked back and forth. Probably about $1.2 million to build the thing. That was back when we designed it, probably more now. Anyway, we may never get there, but it's nice to dream about. Did we lose him? Oh.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
So
Okay.
if President Trump visits, what cabin are you going to put him in?
Brother, never even thought of that. We've got 30 cabins people can stay in. I think if he comes, He'd come with a whole bunch of his people, and the guns and all that stuff. And he can have whatever cabin he wants, brother.
The delusion just absolutely gets worse and worse, doesn't it? To think that President Trump would actually come to his dinosaur adventure hole, especially Trump. I know Trump is sensitive to some things. He might have a bit of the old tax thing in himself, bit of a protester when it comes to that and business practices. But the one thing I can assure Kent that Trump does not approve of is the pedo element that Kent continually defends at DAL. And of course, I've put up clips about that. They'll all form part of a package. And there is just no doubt that Kent welcomes, in one case, convicted pedophile, in another case, a member of his board who Kent said was guilty of interfering with one of his own kids. He welcomes them, and they do stay at DAL. So I can assure Kent that President Trump does not want to be associated in any way with you. And it's one thing that, in a way, I'm quite grateful that you have taken the stand you have on that, because that condemns you out of hand. No politician will want to touch you in the way that your friends have touched children. They won't. They'll want to steer clear of you, Kent. You're such a horrible person. A Big Bad Mama makes a very good point. The rapture is coming in 2028, but Kent wants to build the world's largest dinosaur. What a fool of a man.
It's going to be funny them going there. I really hope they do, because I do believe in my heart that you are the only person arrested with a drug charge that probably hasn't ever even seen drugs. Like, you got the structuring charge.
He's not arrested on a drug charge at all, Stephen. But I tell you what, if Trump does turn up, you could take the opportunity to go down and pay a couple of million back child support. That would be quite good. Yeah, you could maybe take that opportunity. That would probably impress him, because, his regime is going to need money. Every government needs money. And every time you have a prick like Kent Hovind, or indeed yourself, who don't meet their responsibilities, it's less money for government to spend. So sorry to disappoint you on that front.
Made for drug dealers. I don't think anyone's ever offered you drugs, Doc.
Now, I've never tasted alcohol, brother. I'm 72 years old. I had NyQuil a couple times, but I don't know what it tastes like. I've never tasted any drugs. My wife bought me some underpants that had, she thought it was palm trees on there. And somebody said, that's marijuana. It is? I don't know what marijuana looks like.
Well, as long as you didn't try and smoke it while you were wearing them. But we'll move on quickly from there. Of course, you're very sensitive about your underwear. You've made a big song and dance about your son Eric returning your underwear that he apparently purloined after your stay in prison. Bring me back my Swiss Army knife and my underwear, said Kent. There's a whole program about it. It's a joke.
I don't want to learn. The Bible says, I would have you wise unto that which is good and simple concerning evil. Don't learn about all the evil stuff. Quit teaching your kids all the evil in the world. Teach them the good things in the world. Fill your head with good stuff. So anyway, yeah, that'd be cool. Build the world's biggest dinosaur. And the laws they used were crazy. They said I broke, They said I did not withhold taxes from employees, number one. And then they said I did withhold taxes and didn't pay them over. You did the research on that, brother, for all this Kent Hovind video you did. This is fabulous, by the way.
Well, that's actually very easy to understand. On some occasions, you obviously didn't withhold the taxes. And on other occasions, you must have withheld the taxes and then never paid them over. There's two separate things going on there, Kent. It's actually very easy for me, a person with some business experience and some investigative experience, to understand. You probably did both On some occasions you withheld the money. I wouldn't put it past you doing that, but didn't pass it on. You put it in your own pocket, or maybe one of those bank transactions. And in other cases, you just didn't take the withholding tax at all. So pretty easy to understand that. I hope people who are watching can get that into their heads.
Joseph, how much is this? Is this on our web? Can you go Unmasking Kent Hovind? If you want to order these DVDs, the whole series, Stephen did an awesome job. You can get it, put all them dots you got to connect up there or something. Oh, it's not on, we can't do it, okay. But just go to our website.
Find that at drdino.com, right?
Yeah.
All right. And I encourage everybody to get it because it will shock you to see the many ways the United States government, the justice system, and especially the IRS railroaded you. And it's funny that we're having this conversation because one of your biggest fans, Robert Beatty, another puppet of the IRS, is out in the comments section. Why do these people obsess over you so much, Kent?
Well, their job is at stake, okay? Robert Beatty, IRS, yeah. What if Trump follows you and shuts down the IRS? I hope he does. It's a private company, okay?
I pray he does.
Well, then what would he do for a living? He'd lose his job. Good.
It's rubbish. Robert Beatty hasn't worked for the IRS for years. He's retired. So that you need to get your facts correct for a start. Secondly, why on earth would government shut down its source of income? Why would it do that? You know, have you got a brain between the two of you? I doubt it.
Get an honest job. Get a shovel and a pick. Learn to dig a ditch or something. Okay? So, yeah, I just think I'm for truth and against error wherever it's found.
Bull. Absolute bull. I've corrected you many times. There are many videos out there pulling your arguments apart bit by bit. You can find them all over the place. I hope people do get Stephen Andrew Blowen's video and then compare it against the other free videos that you will get. The full investigations into Kent, you know, that do actually tell the truth, that do show the hypocrisy of people like Kent and Boland. And you can tell already, he's an ass liqueur supreme. Dreadful stuff.
The guys who put me in prison, unreal what they did. Let's see, we sent letters to all these people, okay? The weaponized Justice Department. Let's see. Forbes magazine. I'm glad Peter Rowley did a pretty good article about me, okay? Here's what happened. The U.S. attorney who came after me was a pedophile. Well, you tell the story, Stephen. What happened with John David Roy Atchison?
So he was a convicted pedophile, and it all actually turns out. So he really...
Now, that's actually not true. He was charged with some pretty horrendous offences. So I don't stick up for Atchison, but he did take his own life before he was convicted. So you've got that wrong for a start. The other thing is about him coming after you. It wasn't Atchison that came after you at all. The only thing I can find about Atchison is that he filed a couple of dockets after you were already convicted, Kent. After. So you continue to lie about this today, and now an imbecile like Boland repeats those lies.
He did, shortly after convicting you, get caught trying to engage with sexual activities with a child.
And by the way, he didn't convict you, the jury did, Kent, not the prosecutor, and he wasn't the lead prosecutor that was involved in your conviction. He filed some dockets after you were convicted. It is true that he did those dreadful things with children. I'd make no excuse for that. But then we'll probably hear fairly soon the dreadful things that your friends, who you welcomed any time to DAL, Kent, did with children as well. So I think it's a pretty unfortunate thing for you to raise this particular topic. I mean, and as I say, this is going to be your undoing, Kent. You're friends with pedos, and making excuses for them is going to undo you in the eyes of President Trump and his advisors. They won't want to touch you at all. They won't want to come with a mile of that sort of thing.
He was apprehended from the airplane with the lubricant and the teddy bear. All of that's accurate. And he's not the only one. Another one of the prosecutor's husbands was a convicted sex offender. The amount of pedophiles that were involved and your prosecution was just mind-blowing.
And Stephen should know, because Stephen is the one that virtually outed Kent and has stated publicly, and I've put these recordings up on my channel of Stephen Boland saying that there were two that came to pedos that came to Dinosaur Adventure Land regularly, quite regularly, and he named them as Jones and Byram. And he also said there was a third one that he didn't know the name of. This is all down. This is all down there. I mean, I hope Kent listens to this, because Stephen Boland could be in a bit of trouble.
I'd like to ask the question, though, is it really just his prosecution, or is that deep? Dude,
what? I didn't
Yeah,
hear you.
Epstein's list.
Epstein list of all the pedophiles. So the government is full of pedophiles and criminals and evil people, FBI agents lying on secret FISA court applications and getting no jail time. So I just pray for President Trump. Pray that he accepts the Lord totally. I've heard some inklings that way, but mainly God is using him to expose the corruption we know has been there and is there. So,
Well, from what I've heard, I don't believe President Trump is a born-again Christian. I think he is strongly influenced by Christian values, and I'm thrilled for that. I think he's surrounded himself with some good Christian people with good Christian values, and I'm thrilled for that. But I don't think he himself fully understands what salvation is. He's got too much Catholic influence, okay? He thinks it works religion kind of stuff, you know?
Well, this is a very interesting. Trump will be very interested in this. And Kent may well be accurate. But yes, he does have some pretty good legal people there, and I definitely know an economics advisor who I can vouch for. So this is why all this crap is not going to get very far with President Trump, because his legal advisors will know. But what Kent is saying is a lot of biased, incomplete, half story. You can't even call it half truth. It's not a half a truth. There's a minute amount of truth in what's said. And Boland's commentary on it is just so bad to be a joke.
So I'd like to lead him to the Lord, baptize him in our lake. Would that be cool or what?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I have another question for you, Doc, and then you can jump back in, President Dan. This is, please tell Brother Hovind about the carnivore diet. There are lots of carnivore doctors on YouTube. This is the diet where they're only eating meat. Basically, for breakfast, you're already a carnivore. You eat eggs and bacon. It's really the pizza and peanut butter I think you have to give up.
Well, the word vegetarian is a Apache word for bad hunter.
Yes. All right, Dan, do you have any more questions? And then Lupin Wolf is here too. He's a big time supporter of yours, Doc. So good questions coming in. And just let us know when you're tired and ready to wrap up.
Okay.
No, I'm not really any questions, because you do so well. But I just thank you and continue. And I just want to again tell the support that we have for your preaching of the gospel and your defending of the Bible. And we can agree on disagreeing on other things, but man, that's the heart of the gospel, is it?
Amen.
Thank you.
Brother.
I always go ahead, Doc.
I just believe the Bible's true. We ought to read it and do what it says. Our country started that way. We've left our roots. No wonder we're floundering. We need to get back. I told in my book about the prison system, the kennel, put me in charge. I'll shut down the whole prison system, or 99% of it, in an hour. I interviewed 1,000 guys while I was writing my book. In the Bible, there's no prison. I mean, there are prisons in the Bible, but it's the heathen doing it. Under God's law, you fine them, beat them, or kill them. If you steal my sheep, you pay back 4 sheep. That's the fine, and you go home. Under our law, you steal my sheep, you go to prison for 5 years, and I got to pay for your groceries in prison and pay for your wife's groceries on welfare. I'm getting robbed again.
And I still don't have my sheep.
I still don't have sheep. Or beat them. I asked 1,000 guys a simple question. I said, if you went to court and you were found guilty, and there's no question you are guilty of whatever crime, doesn't matter. And the judge says, I'm going to give you a choice. You want 5 years in prison or 20 lashes. Which would you take? 999 out of 1,000 said, I would take the lashes.
Well, why would you give them what they want? That's the soft option, Kent, if you're actually going to look into it. You're just an irrational, illogical person. I mean, this is just, and you're obsessed with corporal punishment. We know that, but I won't get into that. Perhaps you can talk to your mate Anderson about that particular kink.
One guy said, I got nowhere to live anyway, so I'll just go to prison. 999. I said, now, if you took the lashes, which is a better deterrent to not do it again? Well, the lashes. If your son did something wrong, disobeyed a rule in the house, and you said, son, I'm going to lock you in your room for 3 years. Dad, just give me a spanking and get it over with. Under the Bible, certain crimes you get a beating. Never more than 40 lashes, according to the Bible. Okay? But I said, which would you take? They all of them at once said they would take the lashes. I said, which is a better deterrent? The lashes. I said, which is better for your family? Well, the lashes. I go home, I'm sore for a week, but I'm home. Which is better for your job? Well, the lashes. See, if you go to prison 5 years, you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your family. Under God's law, you find them, beat them, or kill them. For certain crimes, somebody ought to be executed. That's all. If somebody breaks into your house and rapes your daughter, you don't want to wait 20 years and pay his groceries in prison. You want to see him get hung or shot or electrocuted or something.
So does that apply to your friend Brady Byram, who you said interfered with one of his own family members X number of years ago? Maybe the daughter, maybe the son, it may be both. What do you think should happen to him, Kent? You going to come and say that? Come on, you big brave nothing. And what about Jones? You suddenly say he's innocent, and other times you say he's guilty. Okay. You're hopeless.
There's something in mankind. We want to see justice, and it's not justice. If somebody comes in at your house and rapes your daughter, for him to go to prison for 20 years, and you got to feed him and feed his wife and kids, and wait for him to get out. What is this closure for your daughter?
Did you feed Brady Byram when he was there? When he brought stuff to your ministry? Did you, Kent? Did you feed him?
None. You want to see the guy shot, go spit on his grave once a week for a couple of years. Take it out of your system. So find him, beat him, or kill him. I think there's hundreds and hundreds of people in prison for crimes you should be executed for. And if you went and asked them, you want to keep spending the rest of your life in jail, or should we just kill you? Many would say, would you please just kill me, put me out of this? That's why John David Roy Atchison, the U.S. attorney, put me in prison. He knew, with his child pedophile stuff.
A lie once again. He did not put Kent in prison. The judge put Kent in prison after Kent was convicted by a jury. The prosecutor, Atchison, was not the lead prosecutor, even the lead prosecutor. He filed dockets after the case. These are facts. Kent is lying. He is just a liar.
He was going to be in prison for life. So he hung himself instead. Yeah.
Whereas if you were someone like a Jones or a Byram, you got invited to DAL anytime are the words that you said, despite the objections of your good Christian volunteers who were afraid for their families, Kent. That's what you did. That's what you said. It's all on the recording. Kent, you're guilty of defending pedophiles. And you had the cheek to raise it here. It's going to be your undoing.
Okay. And Doc, I always like to ask you these same questions every time I have a chance to interview you. The first one is, with all of it in hindsight, how do you find it in you to go on? All the persecution, all the 9 years in prison, the breaking up of your family, the harassment,
Well, he brought all that upon himself, and the breaking up of his family he brought on himself. Always someone else's fault. And now it looks as though it's 4 marriages and 8 years down the gurgler. But hey, never Kent's fault. Never Kent.
The theft of your money, your income, your savings, and then after you get out, the persecution, the constant hate you get. How do you find it in you to go on?
Well, I have sycophants like you, Bolin, that that don't tell the truth and somehow encourage me. That's how I keep going. And the donations from fools that still send money to my business. Oops, ministry.
Brand new Christian, age 16. I select a song to be my theme for life. This world is not my home. I'm just passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. They couldn't steal those. So this is all just a test. Hey, let it go.
Okay. My other question.
Let it go with a few $1 million or $1 billion compensation and a pardon. Yeah, Kent. Yeah.
Question I always ask you, and I always find your answers interesting, is have you decided yet who you're going to try to tap on the shoulder and bring on when you can no longer do it, 50 years from now?
Oh, pick me, Stephen.
You finally go on to be with the Lord. Who's next?
Well, my wife has a dog that I call Pugly. I think
that dog is dumb, Doc. That dog can't run
Pugly
back.
take over.
Well, probably do just as good.
All
That would
right.
be the toughest dog ever made.
I know.
I don't know, brother. Hopefully God will supply somebody.
If I can vote, I think he already has. I think he's over in your soundboard area. I think Joseph has chemistry with you, and I would love to see Joseph take over your place, Doc.
Yeah, well, to give Joseph his due, he's honest, he told the truth, he's the one that blew the news that Sandra, that's Kent Hovind's fourth wife, had left him and taken a whole lot of stuff, including $16,000, and acted not honorably in a Christian womanly way. That's what Joseph said. So, maybe he's more truthful than Hovind and Boland.
Joseph, you want to preach on creation?
I happen to know that Joseph has an endless stash of pretty good creation content, so he would be okay.
He would be good. I thought about Matt Powell. He's got his own ministry. He was down here for quite a while. He's got grandparents up in Michigan, where he's at. I thought about Patrick Urish. He would be good. Anyway, I hope even if my ministry collapses and goes away, there's hundreds of others have already started their own, so it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, Doc, that's all the questions I have for you. Dan or Lupin, do either of you guys have more questions for Doc? Otherwise, we'll let him give a closing statement, and then we'll open up the panel for everybody.
Yeah. Well, real quick, and then you can go. As I like Gangster Ghost, he said Steven should. And I'll say, now that you said, your standard is a stupid dog, I'm right behind you, Steven. You could do it too.
Oh, thanks, Dan. All right, Lupin. Anything from you, unless you also think I'm as dumb as that pug?
No comment on that one, but I was gonna ask Kent Hovind. Luckily, you left your mark on a lot of the world with your ministry and your teaching against evolution, and you've done a great job. If you were to find out that these attacks on your channel were coordinated, and you could get a list, would you ever pursue like any kind of legal action to get any information on who attacked your channel and if it was organized, taking legal action against the people who did that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm in favor of using. I think everybody should obey the law, especially the government.
And Kent has just lied also about the IRS being a private company. It is not. It is a government agency. It's just another of the lies of Kent Hovind, which should actually be obvious. And then you've got this fool Lupin. You just unbelievable idiot, another follower of Kent.
Everybody should obey the law. If they don't, they should be punished. The ones who did this to me should be punished according to the law. And leave me alone. I wasn't breaking any laws. I was preaching the gospel and teaching what I think is true. There's no law against that. So yeah, I think they should be. One's already gone.
Because there's a number of people. There's a number of people who reported your channel who are the critics of yours. That just use your content and make all kinds of hateful. I hear echo, so I'm sorry. It's distracting me a little bit.
I heard it was that spineless liberal Emma. Emma
Well,
Thorne.
she was like a big catalyst. She was like one of the top dominoes.
See, what's funny to me, Kent, is they say you're crazy. They call you nutty Kent Hovind. You're just the laughing stock, but they fear you. They fear you enough that they orchestrate attacks against you. That speaks volume for a hick down in Alabama, as they claim.
Now, talking about orchestrating attacks, how about you raise the issue, Stephen? You're well aware of it when Kent Hovind was trying to get Chris Jones to go out anonymously and attack his then third wife, Cindy, and make up stories about her and say she wasn't qualified for the ministry. Yeah, we know Kent Hovind does make up stories. Yeah, but you're not going to mention that, are you, Stephen Boland? You haven't got enough integrity. You don't know what the word means.
Brother, I have met many thousands of people in my lifetime. And I'll have to admit, I'm the nicest guy I've ever met. So they really should just get to know me. To know me is to love.
Ha ha ha. You know, meant to be a joke, but it's typical. Kent is an absolute narcissist. I think we all know that. It just happens too often to be treated as a joke.
Right. I'll just say one last thing. Well, if you do, I do hope that you eventually possibly get away or maybe get some justice. But we know that, vengeance belongs to the Lord. And I'm glad and grateful for everything that you've done for Christianity and ministry. So keep up the good work. And people that love your message will find your channel and find out how to find you regardless.
Well, thank you, brother. Yeah, I hope a lot of people just start your own ministry.
Yeah, well, we've heard Lupin and effing and blinding and, just full of the most disgusting language. And then he's up there now greasing up Kent Hovind. He's really a disgusting creature that needs to go out and get a job instead of freeloading. God, talk about bloated. Talk about governments being lazy.
People say, Brother Hovind, did God call you to do this? I don't know. I never got a letter or a phone call. It needs to be done. You have to be told what to do. I mean, if you're walking by your neighbor's house and the house is on fire, does somebody have to come and tap you on the shoulder? Hello, would you go tell them their house is on fire? Oh. Okay. Find something to do. Do it for the Lord. Somebody told me when I was a brand new Christian, I asked him, how do you know God's will for your life? He said, that's easy. I said, well, tell me. He said, you find a need and you fill it. Fanafi. Find a need and fill it. He said, what's the greatest need in the world? What do you see? Does the world need more plumbers? Need more carpenters?
Does it need more 4x4s or Jeeps or another replica dinosaur or some half-assed Noah's Ark? I'd say no.
We need. He said, don't tell me. Think about it. That's probably God calling you to do it. I said, well, I think we need somebody to explain the creation and the flood and the Bible at a fourth grade level. Because back in those days, all the creation scientists, I read all the books by Henry Morris and Duane Gish, and they were excellent. But they're using all the big $5 words, and when you're all done reading, you say, what did he say? Somebody needs to dumb this down for a fourth grader.
Well, he's certainly good at dumbing things down, that's for sure. Absolutely dumbing things down because he doesn't understand it himself. But, for my kids, I want them to be intelligent and bright and scientifically literate. The absolute opposite of what Ken wants. The absolute opposite of someone like a Lupin or a Stephen Boland. I want my kids to be able to make the most of their education and the most of the world in which they live in.
And that's my specialty. Taking the complex and explaining it where people can get it. That's why I did a series on algebra. Introduction to algebra where the kids can get it. I taught it 15 years. Introduction to biology. Make it simple where they get it. Introduction to physical science. Earth science.
If you want your kids to grow up dumb, you want them to grow up like Boland, or you want them to grow up like Lupin that you've just heard, you get them those series. I strongly advise you not to.
These are all on our website, drongos.com. I think if God gave me any gift at all, it's the gift of teaching, the gift of being able to explain. And so I want to explain the creation stuff so people can get it.
I think the gift of grifting would be more appropriate, not the gift of teaching.
So that's what I would encourage others to do. Find something you can do. There's a war going on. I say, if you're not going to shoot, carry bullets. Pay for the bullets. Take care of the wounded. Find something to do for the kingdom of God. Okay? We need everybody doing something.
Hey, I think we have a question for you, Doc. This is Daniel. He's from the Burning Bushes channel. He is a member of the Orthodox Church, and I'm going to let him ask his question.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask you, do you think that the evolution versus creation debate, does it have any bearing on your salvation?
Well, indirectly, it might, because if God created the world, then he's the judge and he owns it and he can make the rules. If evolution is true, then God's unnecessary. So it really, it gives people an escape from even thinking there is a God. As far as once you get into the idea there's a God, there's only two religions in the world, and that's Cain and Abel. Cain brought his fruit and vegetables. Hey, God, look what I did for you. God wouldn't take it. Abel brought a sacrifice. God took it. And all through the Bible, you see that dividing line between man's works and God's work on the cross. Salvation is because of what Jesus did on the cross. And the evolution theory, I'll call it evolution religion, prevents people from even inspecting the idea. Maybe there's a God. Wow. They look at the absolutely stupid geologic column and say, wow, this top layer is younger than the bottom layer. There's no such thing as a geologic column. It doesn't exist anywhere except the textbook. I taught her science 15 years. I'll debate anybody on that. But when people start believing that, oh, the layers are different ages, they're Jurassic and Triassic and Mississippian, then they miss the bigger picture. They were all formed in 1 year by Noah's flood.
Oh, complete utter bollocks. Ask a real scientist. You really want your kids to grow up dumb, then, you want them to be a Dan or Stephen or Lupin, then you go ahead with all this Hovind stuff. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but so is he.
So there is no geologic column. Anyway, so I think the evolution religion prevents many people from even examining the truth. It's a diversion, it's a distraction. So I think it's not a salvation issue, but it prevents people from getting saved because it diverts them down the wrong road. Okay?
Okay, I can see your point if somebody took evolution to be the entire creation story and supplanted Genesis with it and said, we don't need God anymore. Like, that would be terrible. Yeah.
That is what happens, though. Thousands, maybe even millions of students fall into believing the stupid evolution religion, and they don't even examine their soul. They don't even examine their eternity. They're taught, hey, you're nothing but animated meat, and when you die, you turn back to dust and you're done. Oh, okay. So you might as well have fun. This prevents people from looking into eternity.
Another follow-up question, although it's not...
Oh my God, this is going to get tedious, isn't it? Look, I haven't got time to carry on anymore. I thought we would cover the whole thing. It's just about at the end, but this is just people, sliming up to Kent Hovind. Basically, he just tells lie after lie. I've put the record straight here, which is I wanted to do. My main purpose is to save good Christian people, or those that are thinking about it, from at least going to a real Christian and not to some scumbag who's going to take your money off you and give you the false idea about science and lie to you about his trial instead of admitting his guilt, which he was guilty. So that's the purpose of all this. So I'm going to say good night, and whatever time of day it is for you, and we'll talk another time. So okay. Sorry, Beerius, I just don't have time to go on and do any more tonight. I did ask earlier if people would come on, but there was nobody able to at that stage, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, so thanks everybody, and we'll do another show soon. I do hope to have a special guest that I'm going to be interviewing, a person who is an expert on Mr. Hovind, and I think that'll be a good surprise guest to have, and I won't be letting any fools on like Lupin to try and disrupt the stream. They can do that elsewhere on other people's shows. So thank you very much, folks. Bye.